We hope that tourists will come to see our sanctuary and drive around the preserve and bring more money into the district. That is the best way to try to help save the wild animals that remain. All of the 48 orphans have their own personalities and sad little life histories. Of course, all are named. Some were bought as pets and handed over to us when they got to bring bring too big and potentially dangerous to go on living in a house. That happens always when the champ is between 5 and 7 years old. One champ with the most interesting story is Ricky. She was bought by a Congolese man who loved her and had her with him in his house. When he had to go away for a quiet long period, poor Ricky was shut out of the house. The rest of the family was not so fond of her. Ricky was only about 2 years old. She desperately needed love and reassurance res, reassurance from a responsible caretaker. caretaker. So she approached the only possible candidate candidate Henry, a medium-sized shaggy dog. Henry was also shut outside. Ama- Amazing, amazingly, Henry adopted Ricky. She slept curled up beside him, one hand clutching his fur, and when he went screwing in the dustbins of Brazzaville, Ricky went along riding on his back. Eventually the owner came back, and we persuaded him to let Ricky join the chimpanzee chimps before she got any older. The older they are, the harder it is to introduce them to an ex- existing group. She got on fine, but I worried about poor Henry, left all alone. However, his owner is a very nice person. When Grazilla explained my concern, he agreed to get the companion for his dog, this time another dog. We are also looking after chimpanzee orphans in Burundi, in Uganda, and most recently in Tanzania, and we are involved with a big new sanctuary in Kenya. Many of these orphans were actually captured in the huge Central African country of Zaire. That country has so many political and economic problems that it is almost impossible for the officials to enforce any of the wildlife laws and regulations. The chimps in our sanctuaries are lucky. Some infant chimps are sold to animal dealers. They are the really evil people, making money out of the suffering of thousands of live animals. The conditions in which they are kept are often so bad that many of these animals die. It is illegal to export chimpanzees from most African countries, so the dealers smuggle them out in tiny boxes, often with misleading labels. Many chimps die on the journey. What happens to the chimps that survive? Some are bought for zoos, particularly particularly by wealthy Arabs who like to keep private collections of wild animals. Some are bought to be trained for the circus. This almost always involves very cruel training. First, the chimps must be taught to obey, and usually this is done by beating them with metal bars. Then, because they have learned to fear their trainer, they can be made to perform stupid tricks, dressed dressed in unsuitable clothes, day after day, night after night. It is much the same when they are used in advertising.